this week we're going to be talking about the USA had success at the Olympics. Some interesting potential partnership that Major League Baseball is talking about doing with a specific niche sports media company. A little bit more controversy on the race side of life or not. And of course, some A's baseball. Very successful road trip, or not road trip, a very successful little 15 game stand. We're gonna go through all that, but first, Julio, let's celebrate this Team USA in the Olympics. Look, they unfortunately didn't come home with the gold, but they came home with the silver. The fact that they are in the championship game, I would say, is a very good thing. The last time the Team USA went to the Olympics, they didn't even medal. They got into the quarterfinal. They lost the first round. So great job, guys. You really represented well. Nick Allen did a great job over there. Really get some good experience with competitive Major League level baseball. He's come back to the Las Vegas Aviators, and he's actually been playing really well, which has been really cool. But the big thing with that team, Julio, was they just couldn't put runs on the board. They had amazing pitching, dominating pitching the entire Olympics, but they just struggled to put runs on the board. And that was the case in the gold medal game. They lost 2-0. They could not put together a single run in the gold medal game, which is depressing, but still happy. Great job, guys. Yeah,
it definitely was a good thing for guys like Nick Allen. I can't remember any of the other prospects off the top of my head, but also
Tyler Austin, who was like the star of their team, he hit like 3 or 4 home runs to all tournament. He was amazing. I think he's going to be special in the league.
But also all the veterans, it sounds like some of these guys may be getting a second shot. I know Edwin Jackson kind of put out saying he still wants to pitch. Scott Kazmir was freaking lights out this whole time. Dude. He was with Giants camp beginning of the season, so hopefully he gets another chance to keep pitching. But at the end of the day, you're playing the host country. Japan won gold. Japan won gold for baseball and softball, and the U.S. was silver in both. They're really kind of playing with house money in a couple sense. So they were, because of one, if they're the home country, even if there's no crowd, you've played these fields, you know how these things work. And two, they're more used to the international ball than these players were. And I think over time, I remember when I was in Japan for the A's Nippon Ham Fighters game, that they actually used the Japanese ball for that specific game. And that one of the things about the ball was it's a smaller ball than the standard MLB size ball. And that they're like, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be like advantage for the Japanese team because like they know how to hit these kind of things, even though the A's like rocked them in the exhibition game. But like, I'd imagine that was probably a big difference for this one. Either way, man.
But Julio, also the Japan League took an Olympic break, so their best players of their league, like their home, the country, besides obviously like the players in America, like Shohei Ohtani, but them in Korea, they took the Olympic break, so they were allowed to like send their like A squad, whereas MLB wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, Masahiro Tanaka was out there. Former Yankee great. Shout out to our dudes at the 4 train. But still, the fact that the U.S. silvered against a very potent Dominican Republic team, the Puerto Rican team's always putting some talent out there, and you got to feel happy about it. You're not going to get gold in everything, and I think just medaling is a big step in the right direction. There is not going to be baseball at this next Olympics, which is going to be kind of a bummer. But there will be one in 2020
Is that confirmed?
When it's in Los Angeles. Yeah, they're not going to be having, because they're going to be doing breakdancing.
That's right. Oh, God.
Maybe the ride the wave arm thing is kind of a breakdance move. So I'm thinking whoever is the best for the A's, they could just send them to be a part of the breakdance team.
I was listening to Go ahead.
I was like, even though I think this is actually hella entertaining to watch, if we got some like crazy ass breakdancers.
If it's on the Olympics, I will probably if it's on primetime, I will probably watch it. But am I going to go out of my way to watch it? No. I was listening to an episode of ESPN Daily where he had Jeremy Schaap on, who's been covering the Olympics for 30 years. He's gone to like 20 Olympics or something like that. And him and Pablo were talking about it. And Jeremy Shapp's kind of a boomer in the sense of like the Olympics, where he's like, I only want the traditional sports. Like I wasn't like super happy when they brought in skateboarding. And then he asked him, I was like, well, what do you think about breakdancing in the next Olympics? He goes, I'm just not gonna give you an answer to that question. Like it was oh god, it was so funny.
Did you have a favorite sport to watch throughout the Olympics? Are officially over. The U.S. had the final medal count for gold and total medal. Yeah. So U.S. what to do. But was there one that you're like every time it was on, you're like, well, I'm shocked I'm watching this every single time, but I'm here.
Are you saying like obscure sport or just sport in general?
I would say more obscure side, because of course we're going to watch basketball. Of course, watch baseball.
Like mine was going to be basketball.
I would say track, gymnastics. We're going to watch those because it's like, the 20th. Because for me, I was watching a ton of ping pong. Super entertaining. Nice. Loved watching it.
That's right. You were texting me about it.
Yeah,
doubles ping pong is on.
I love playing ping pong, so like it was cool to kind of watch it like a high level. About that, is there anything for you? Synchronized swimming?
No, handball. I love handball. I wish that was a bigger sport in America. I would totally play it. So mostly that. And America didn't have a team in the handball tournament, but I still watch it. It was dope. Let's move on, Julio. So the next big story, you may have heard this if you are big in the baseball community, but Major League Baseball is talking with Barstool Sports about them broadcasting games and them having a broadcast team to commentate games. This has been very polarizing on MLB Twitter and on the online community because Barstool, if you don't know what it is a sports media company that is more humor and in regards to sports, they take that angle, but in more specifically kind of frat humor, so misogynistic humor. They also have a pretty long history of being we just said that racist, but kind of like the classic systemic racism, so like subtle racism. So many people, June Lee has been one, for example, who criticized this when the announcement came out, because the two audiences that Major League Baseball is not doing well with and they're trying to grow, and they've actually had some success the past year, is the inner city and women. And if you make this move, those are the two fan groups that you're going to kind of isolate and offend. Julio, I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on this, being a very woke person as well, but yeah.
Great. Thanks.
We both are, Julio. Let's face it. The audience already knows anyway.
So look, I'll say this straight up, is that I some of the Barstool baseball stuff they do is pretty good stuff. I from time to time, I've listened to Starting Nine with Dallas and Jared Carabas, and like they know their stuff and they're entertaining all this stuff. And like I don't doubt that. I think they would put in the right people to get these things, have good like stuff without having to kind of alienate people. But the problem is that like in 2020, our MLB put out a report that viewership in women grew 80% that year. Mm-hmm. This last All-Star break, we kind of talked about it. You put out a report about, or they donated to the Players Union, or not the Players Union, the Players Alliance, to kind of help expand and grow. And there's a home run into the cornfield. Brett Garner, God, that guy's to help grow and expand the game. And
is it on Fox or FS1?
It's on Fox. Help grow and expand the game in underrepresented communities. Huge donation, the biggest that's ever happened in baseball. So great, they're going in the right path. But then these reports of aligning themselves with not necessarily the Dallas and Jareds of the world, but just Dave Portnoy, who has a history of extreme misogyny. He has a history of anti-union when people at Barstool said that they were looking to unionize in the midst of a lot of these.
Well, hold on, Julio. Anti-union is not misogyny and is not racist.
No, but I'm saying, like, you ruined my point. God damn it.
I know. Well, I'm just saying, like anti-union. That's just a billionaire business owner.
No, I'm just gonna say
not want to deal with unions. That's every CEO in the country.
This dude's a gigantic piece of shit.
Yes,
Dave Portnoy is like, he's a good businessman, of course, but just because you're a good businessman doesn't mean you're the piece of shit. Yeah, there's multiple clips of him like comparing Colin Kaepernick to like Middle Eastern terrorists, of him dropping the N-word consistently throughout interviews, of just putting down women, and then people and some of the Barstool bros on Twitter. Look, I'm just going to avoid those conversations at all with our Twitter accounts. I'm going to deal with it. But a lot of people are saying like, oh, well, they're having more women podcasters and all this stuff. Well, great. Can you tell me the kind of demographic of women that you're having? They're going to be doing these shows. And can you tell me the demographic of the men? Like, there's no diversity in with it. Now, look, you come at me and say, oh, you're just a swoke, all this stuff. And at the end of the day, I work for a very big business, and that when you have diversity there, it makes your company exceedingly better because you hear different viewpoints from all walks of life. And that is for every single company will become a bigger, better company, because if you bring somebody in who doesn't have the same level of or the same upbringing as you did, and the person next to you doesn't the same, so on and so forth, you're going to get the best minds possible out of that. So when people try to kind of bring that argument for Barstool, I'm like, I don't think that's true. The real problem is if you're trying to grow the game of baseball, lift blackouts. I tweeted earlier today with the Field of Dreams game going on. Like, this is great, but guess what? People in Iowa still can't watch Cardinal games, Cubs games, White Sox games, Brewers games, Twins games, and Royals games because of MLB blackouts.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you straight up, if you lift those blackouts or at least put a little bit more of a rule behind it, ratings will skyrocket. Oh, but Julio, they do the same thing for NBA League Pass. Well, guess what? NBA is way more accessible because unlike baseball, NBA will actually show more small market teams consistently on ESPN and TNT. How often do you see the Utah Jazz playing on national TV? How often do you see the Bucks, the 4 championship? But like, they do a better job of marketing the small teams. Whereas every time you tune into Sunday Night Baseball, it's Yankees, Red Sox. Phillies, Mets, Dodgers, Giants. Mm-hmm. There's more teams there's more than 8 teams in baseball. When was the last time the A's have hosted Sunday Night Baseball? When was the last time the Rays have hosted Sunday Night Baseball? So it's there's better ways to grow the game than Barstool. Another
big issue with specifically the blackouts, Julio, is that with the NBA, and it might be because of the time of the games, it's a little bit easier, but they show 2 games, national games a night, 7 days a week. Saturday and Sunday, they only play 1 national game, but it's 2 games a night. So you're getting more exposure to different teams and different matchups. Look, I'll say this. Barstool has been doing a little bit better in terms of on the women's side, I would say. They have that really big podcast, the Call Her Daddy podcast, but that podcast specifically is, I wouldn't necessarily say that's women empowerment. I mean, who am I to judge? If women like that stuff, and it's pretty much just like a sex podcast, talking about stuff like that, the women's side of like dating and sex, and stuff like that. That's all good and dandy. If you like that podcast, great. But I wouldn't say that it's necessarily empowering women because, there's not like a women's baseball podcast on the Barstool network. I love Dallas and those guys. They have a podcast with Barstool, but they don't work for Barstool. So I don't necessarily put them in the same boat as Barstool. I think that Pardon My Take has gotten a lot better as well. That has always been frat humor, but at kind of a respectable level. But I don't know, a lot of their Twitter trolls and writers that they have there, it's very offensive humor most of the time. And don't get me wrong, I do chuckle at it sometimes, but it doesn't mean that it's good for the game. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I remember last year, I think it was a report came out specifically for the A's though. They were doing well with capturing audience from 18 to 35. I wonder why that is. I wonder if it's something about the team in itself and the diversity of that team kind of had that related to the audience that they're not trying to capture. Anyway, it doesn't matter. If you're trying to get more minorities to watch baseball, this is not the move to do it, because it's, Portnoy's just going to say offensive stuff on the broadcast, and it's just going to piss people off even more.
And, look, no company's perfect. I think ESPN, ESPN is a completely different company than it was 5-10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I think that's somebody you can say, look, they've actually improved when it comes to diversity and inclusion in their place. Because if you think about it, some of the best personalities they have are from people of color from across different spectrums. And it has kind of been growing. You listen to The Daily every single day, and it's hosted by Pablo Torre, and he's like one of the best people on ESPN. So it just shows you like that stuff's important. But again, I think it's a bad idea. There's better outlets. There's better ways. Frankly, I'd be like, yo, Netflix, you can start streaming sports. We'll be the first one to do it. We know you have all the money in the world, because you put it on Netflix, people are going to watch it. And plus Netflix kind of needs it because they've kind of been tanking. But
you know what, Julio, honestly, I don't think that Major League Baseball has any intention on actually doing it. I think that there was a very small preliminary talk with Portnoy and Rob Manfred, and Portnoy leaked that because any exposure, any press for Barstool or anything like that is good press. It gets people talking about it. Look at us. We're talking about it right now on our podcast.
It's good.
I don't think they have any intention on doing it. I don't think that Barstool has any intention on following up with it. I think that they just want, the headlines, that sounds like classic Barstool, way of operating.
It's very good shock jock kind of attention. Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to bring up to kind of really show you who Barstool is last Sunday, if you remember, a fan ran out of the field of Dodger Stadium and was trying to get back into the stands. The ball girl on right clocked him, checked him over the stands. And then Barstool found out more about this girl, and they put out a piece, and they're like, the ball girl in right who clocked the fan is actually a smoke show. I'm like, look, I think there's nothing wrong with kind of complimenting somebody's attraction to your friends or something. But when you just put out there, I'm like, dude, that's weird. It's creepy. It's inappropriate.
Yeah. You're asking creepy, 21-year-old frat boys to now just follow her and stalk her and it was
probably some chubby dude from the suburbs of Philadelphia who wrote it. It's a good one. Went to Villanova. Yeah. Anyways, I'm tired of these guys. I don't think it's going to happen. Anyways, last topic, kind of along the same lines. This could have been a lot worse than it actually was.
This was Sunday's legitimate. Look, I'm not gonna lie. This was legitimate funny. I laughed so hard out loud.
In retrospective, it's pretty funny. But Sunday during action-packed Miami Marlins Colorado Rockies game, Lewis Brinson was up to bat. He's a young outfielder for the Marlins. He is an African-American man. And audio from the game picked up a fan yelling the N-word at him. And initially...
Or so Ken Rosenthal thought.
A lot of people thought. And a lot of players are going on Twitter and being like...
But it didn't get attention until Ken Rosenthal tweeted it out there.
Yeah. And it blew up on Twitter over the next 24 hours. Things haven't changed. Players were saying this guy needs to be banned for life. Fans are getting up in this. Of course, in Denver, yada, yada, yada. So the team does an investigation. They looked into it. And they determined that if they looked in extra footage, that the fan in question was yelling Dinger, the mascot's name for the Colorado Rockies, because he was a section over. So they showed a full back footage, and they showed the said fan trying to wave to him, yelling Dinger, Dinger. And you can see the guy waving. You can see Dinger right there. So everybody kind of put an apology. Thankfully, this guy's name was not put into public because that would have been bad. But we're going to keep this lighthearted. And let's say hypothetically they had to change the Rockies mascot team named Dinger, who was born out of a dinosaur egg. It submerged out of said egg on the opening day for the Colorado Rockies back in 1995 or 4, whenever they debuted. It's really weird.
How do you know all this history to the mascot?
Just look it up, because there's a whole thing. If you look at like early 90s with sports, of like people's fascination with dinosaurs because of Jurassic Park. That's why the Toronto Raptors got their name, because it was up to a fan vote. And they voted the Raptors because Jurassic Park was like the biggest movie in the world at that time. So, Chris, I already have mine set up if you'd like me to go first. What would your new hypothetical mascot name be for the Rockies to prevent this ever happening again?
I'm not even allowed to touch on this before you ask me this question, so I have to.
No, it could touch. Yeah, sure. I don't know how much we could say about it, but I just think it's kind of funny at the end of the day. Man,
if you watch the video, he's clearly like waving and gesturing over the mascot and like trying to get the mascot's attention, which he's not getting. Look, it sounds like I forgot what's the player's name again?
Lewis Brinson.
Lewis Brinson doesn't believe it. He thinks that it was something racist. Look, man, I hear you, but I think the evidence clearly points that it was a misinterpretation. Levitard, Mike Ryan from Dan Levitard show, said something pretty funny and actually kind of like eye-opening about the situation. Is that like, look, modern day racists aren't this blatantly racist. Like, this isn't like the 1920s where they're just like out there in public just yelling at the top of their lungs.
Except at Utah Jazz games.
Sure. It's just a little more subtle racism where it's, where it's just like, it's part of their like, just the way they see the world. So that probably should have been the first sign. But this was honestly when Julio first told me about it, because I'm not as active on Twitter. He sent it to me in blocks through the message. So the first block was like the thing about, what Ken Rosenthal sent. And I was like, what? This is insane. Like, fuck this guy. And then you sent me the second block and I was like, there's no fucking way this is real. And then I Googled it and I'm like, oh my God, this is real. And I just started dying laughing. Like, wow. Like, Twitter trolls really took this so out of proportion, rightfully so, because it's racism, but like it's pretty fucking funny. I'm not gonna lie. So if I had to change it to the name, the Silver Bullets.
No. So the mascot would be the Silver Bullet.
Yeah. And Coors Light could sponsor it.
Or Coors. Oh, Coors is already filled.
Yeah.
Mine would be Helton, to honor the greatest Rocky of all time, Todd Hilton. Or just call him Todd.
That's kind of lame, dude.
So is the Silver Bullet. Oh, here comes our guy, the mascot, the Silver
Hell yeah,
Bullet.
Bro. The Silver Bullet. Coors Light.
I just thought, like, I think you should leave. Oh, here comes Harley Bar Jarvis.
Okay.
Fuck you, Barley Jarvis. I hope you die.
I need to watch season 2 so badly. All right, Julio. Look, I get it, Todd Helton. That's cool, but like, I mean, that's kind of lame. There's no creativity, of like the state of Colorado in there. It's just one player about the specific baseball team. But go ahead.
I haven't been to Colorado, but I think Colorado would be pretty cool. I want to go. I want to visit really bad.
Colorado's dope. You need to go to Colorado.
I know, but yeah. That's fine. Anyways, before we head on to the last,
you said you wanted 30 seconds. There, go.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about this next player. And a little add-on big three. After retirement, Chris Davis, not Chris with a K, but Chris the C, who's been paid fat money for the last 5 years for the Orioles. Everybody remembers him for that. Let's not forget, there was a good 3-4 year span. He was arguably 5 years, maybe the best power hitter in baseball.
Yeah. Like
baseball, most feared, like those early 2010s Oriole teams with like JJ Hardy.
That Oriole team was good, man. They went to the ALCS. One of them.
Chris Davis, Manny Machado, Brian Roberts,
Adam
Jones. Dude, they were sick. He was a big part of that team. So, congrats on retirement. And you're still getting paid. So great, good for you, man.
Good job, buddy.